Ever wondered what $1 billion can buy you in real estate? How about a house with its own power plant? Or maybe one with a garage that fits 168 cars? Today we're counting down the 13 biggest mansions in the world, and let me tell you, these places are so crazy you won't believe they're real. Whittenhurst, we're kicking off our list with a mansion so secretive, most Londoners don't even know it exists. Welcome to Whittenhurst, the biggest private house in London after Buckingham Palace. But this ain't no tourist attraction, it's a real home where someone actually lives. Now I know what you're thinking, how big could it really be? Well, picture this, 90,000 square feet of pure luxury. That's like 35 average-sized houses combined into one mega mansion. And get this, it's got 25 bedrooms. You could invite your entire extended family over for a sleepover and still have room to spare. But the craziest part, this place has a pool that's 70 feet long. That's not a pool, that's practically an Olympic training facility in your backyard. And we're just getting started with the amenities. Whittenhurst's got 2 basements, a sauna, and a gym that'd make your local fitness center look like a joke. Now, you might be wondering who'd need all this space. Well, back in the day, this place was so fancy that even Queen Elizabeth herself used to party here. No, really, in the 1950s, Her Majesty was a regular guest at Whittenhurst. Talk about a royal seal of approval. But here's where things get really interesting. In 2008, someone bought this massive pad for £50 million. That's like $62 million. And get this, nobody knows who bought it. It's like a real-life game of Clue. But instead of figuring out who committed a murder, everyone's trying to guess who's living in this mega mansion. Since then, Whittenhurst's been getting a major facelift. We're talking serious renovations to keep it at the top of London's luxury real estate game. But don't expect to see much of it next time you're in London. This place is so hidden you could walk right past it and never know you just missed one of the biggest private homes in the world. The One. Introducing you to The One, and let me tell you, it lives up to its name. And this isn't just any mansion, it's a modern-day castle that makes your favorite sci-fi movie set look like a cardboard box. Imagine a house so big you could fit 50 regular homes inside it. Yeah, you heard that right. The One spans a mind-blowing 105,000 square feet. That's not a typo, folks. It's like they took a small neighborhood and decided to put a roof on it. But size isn't everything, right? Well, The One's got views that'll make your Instagram followers think you've photoshopped your pics. From one window, you're looking at the glittering Los Angeles skyline. Turn your head and bam! There's the Pacific Ocean stretching out as far as the eye can see. It's like living in a postcard, but better. Now let's talk about what's inside this monster of a mansion. You want a home theater? Psh, that's for amateurs. The One's got a 40-seat cinema that'd make Hollywood jealous. Feeling stressed after a long day of being filthy rich? No problem. Just head to your personal full-service salon and spa. Yep, you read that right, a whole spa in your house. But wait, there's more. Ever wished you could go clubbing without leaving home? Well, in The One you can. It's got its own nightclub. I'm not kidding. You could throw the party of the century and never have to worry about calling an Uber. And for those days when you're feeling extra fancy, why not take a stroll on your private sky deck? It's like having your own slice of heaven, complete with a view that'd make angels jealous. Now you might be wondering, who on earth would need all this space? Well, turns out it's the guy who's been dressing half of Instagram. Richard Sajian, the big boss of Fashion Nova, snagged this place in 2022 for a cool $126 million. That's right, $126 million. You could buy a small island for that kind of cash, but Sajian decided he'd rather have the most bonkers house in LA, Oheka Castle. I wouldn't be surprised if you haven't heard about The Great Gatsby. We're talking about Oheka Castle. And it's not just big, it's the second largest private home in the whole United States. Now you might be thinking, how big could it really be? Well, picture this, 109,000 square feet of pure luxury. That's like taking 50 regular houses and smooshing them together into one massive palace. And get this, it's not some modern glass box. Nah, this place looks like it was plucked right out of the French countryside and dropped onto Long Island. But here's the kicker. This castle wasn't built for some old-timey king or queen. It was made for a regular guy named Otto Hermann Kahn. Okay, maybe not so regular. He was a big-shot financier and loved to throw epic parties. This dude built his dream home back in the early 1900s, and let me tell you, he didn't hold back. Now you'd think a place this fancy would be all locked up, right? Wrong. Today, Oheka Castle is like a real-life Disneyland for grown-ups. You can actually stay there like it's some kind of crazy hotel. Imagine telling your friends you're spending the weekend in a literal castle. They'd think you've lost your mind. But it gets even better. This place is so over-the-top gorgeous that people are lining up to get married there. I mean, who wouldn't want to feel like royalty on their big day? And if you think you've seen this place before, you probably have. TV shows and movies love using Oheka as a backdrop. Ever watched Succession? Yeah, that's Oheka Castle you're seeing. Inside, it's like stepping into a time machine. We're talking fancy plaster on the walls, chandeliers that probably cost more than your car, and furniture that looks too nice to sit on. It's the kind of place where you feel like you should be wearing a tuxedo just to walk down the hallway. But here's the crazy part. This castle almost didn't make it. After Khan kicked the bucket in 1934, the place became a military school for 50 years. Can you imagine a bunch of cadets running around this fancy palace? But don't worry, some smart people came along and fixed it up real nice. Now it's back to its old glory, ready for you to live out your Gatsby fantasies. Safra Mansion, heading to Sao Paulo to check out the Safra Mansion, and let me tell you, this place is so fancy, it'll make your head spin. Now you might be wondering, who are the Safras and why do they need such a big house? Well, these folks aren't just rich, they're banking dynasty rich. We're talking old money, serious influence, and a pad that screams, we've got more cash than we know what to do with. So how big is this place? Buckle up, because I'm about to blow your mind. The Safra Mansion covers a whopping 117,000 square feet. That's like taking a Walmart supercenter and turning it into your personal playground. And get this, it's got 130 rooms. You could sleep in a different room every night for more than 4 months and never use the same one twice. But size isn't everything, right? Well, the Safras made sure their crib has all the bells and whistles you'd expect from a billionaire's pad. Want to take a dip? No problem. This place has both indoor and outdoor pools. Because why choose when you can have both? Feeling lazy? Just hop on your personal helicopter and land it right on your own helipad. Yeah, you heard that right. A helipad on your house. Now you might be thinking, surely this is the biggest mansion in South America, right? Well, hold your horses. While it's definitely up there, the crazy thing is that there are other mega mansions in South America that give the Safra pad a run for its money. But what sets this place apart isn't just its size, it's the sheer opulence of it all. Biltmore Estate. Moving to North Carolina to check out the Biltmore Estate. And let me tell you, this ain't your average southern mansion. Now you might be wondering, how big can it really be? Well, picture this. 175,000 square feet of pure luxury. That's not a typo, folks. This place is so huge you could fit 4 football fields inside it and still have room for a couple of tennis courts. And get this, it's got 35 bedrooms. You could invite your entire high school class for a sleepover and still have space left over. But here's the kicker. This mega mansion wasn't built by some tech billionaire or oil tycoon. Nope, this bad boy's been around since the 1800s. That's right. While your great-great-grandparents were riding horses to work, some guy named George Vanderbilt was living it up in America's largest private home. Now you might think a house this old would be kind of boring, right? Wrong. This place has got some seriously cool features. Ever dreamed of having your own library? Well, the Biltmore's got a 2-story one that'll make your local public library look like a bookstand at a yard sale. But wait, there's more. This place has got 43 bathrooms. Yeah, you heard that right, 43. You could use a different bathroom every day for over a month and never hit the same one twice. Talk about options. Now here's where things get really interesting. Back in the day, this place was just for the Vanderbilts and their fancy friends. But in 1930, George's daughter Cornelia decided to share the wealth. She opened up the estate for tours, and suddenly regular folks like us could see how the other half lived. And if you think this place is just some dusty old museum, think again. In 2001, they upped their game and opened the Inn on Biltmore Estate. That's right, you can actually stay at this mega mansion. It's like Airbnb, but way, way fancier. Antilia. Now you might be thinking, how tall can a house really be? Well, hold on to your hats, because Antilia isn't just a mansion, it's a full-on skyscraper. This beast of a building stands 27 stories high. That's right, 27 floors of pure luxury. It's like someone took a fancy hotel, decided it wasn't fancy enough, and then cranked everything up to 11. But height isn't everything, right? Well, Antilia's got the square footage to match. We're talking 400,000 square feet of living space. That's like taking a small town and stacking it straight up into the air. You could probably fit every house on your block inside this place and still have room for a shopping mall. Now you're probably wondering what kind of crazy features a house like this has. Well, buckle up, because it's about to get wild. Ever wished you had more than one parking spot? How about 168 of them? Yeah, you heard that right. Antilia's got a garage that can fit 168 cars. That's not a garage, that's a whole car dealership inside your house. But wait, there's more. You know how some people have a games room? Well, Antilia's got a snow room. No, that's not a typo, it's a room. filled with man-made snow, because why go to the mountains when you can bring the mountains to you, right? Now you might be thinking, this place must have cost a fortune. And boy, would you be right. Antillia wasn't cheap. It cost a cool $2 billion to build. That's billion with a B. You could buy a small country for that kind of cash, but Mukesh Ambani decided he'd rather have the most bonkers house in Mumbai instead. Speaking of Mukesh Ambani, he's not your average Joe. This guy's one of the richest men in the world. When you've got that kind of money, I guess a regular penthouse just doesn't cut it anymore. You need a house with 9 high-speed elevators, multiple swimming pools, and a helipad. You know, for those days when the Mumbai traffic is just too much and you need to chopper in for dinner. But here's the thing. Not everyone's thrilled about Antillia. Some folks think it's a bit much, especially since it towers over a part of Mumbai where a lot of people are struggling to get by. It's like having a golden spaceship land in the middle of a regular neighborhood. Buckingham Palace. Get up and focus for a palace so big it's got its own zip code. Okay, not really, but it might as well have one. We're talking about Buckingham Palace, the crown jewel of royal residences. This place isn't just a house, it's a whole institution. Now you might be thinking, how big can it really be? Well, let me put it this way. If you started running laps around this place, you'd probably need to pack a lunch. We're talking about a massive 828,820 square feet of pure royal luxury. That's like taking 15 football fields and stacking them on top of each other. But it's not just about size, right? Well, Buckingham Palace has got the room count to match. This place has 775 rooms. Yeah, you heard that right. 775. You could spend over 2 years sleeping in a different room every night and still not hit them all. Talk about options. Now, you're probably wondering what goes on in all those rooms. Well, let me tell you, this ain't no museum. Buckingham Palace is a working residence. That means while you're watching Netflix in your PJs, there are people in there doing actual royal business. It's like the world's fanciest office building, but with better furniture. But here's where things get really interesting. This place isn't just for the royals, nope, it's also a major tourist attraction. Every summer they open up the staterooms to us regular folks, so you can actually go inside and see where the Queen used to have her tea. No joke! And if you think your family reunions are a big deal, wait till you hear about the events they throw at Buckingham Palace. We're talking royal weddings, people. Remember when Prince William and Kate got hitched? Yeah, that was here. Millions of people around the world tuned in to watch. It's like the Super Bowl of weddings, but with better hats. Umaid Bhawan Palace. I know that you might be thinking, how big can it really be? Well, hold on to your hats, because this palace covers a mind-blowing 1 million square feet. That's like taking 20 football fields and smooshing them together into one massive building. And the craziest part? It's made entirely of golden sandstone. Talk about bling! But here's where things get really interesting. This ain't some stuffy old palace stuck in the past. Nope, Umaid Bhawan is rocking a style that'll make you feel like you've stepped into a time machine. We're talking Art Deco, baby. You know, that fancy style from the 1920s and 30s with all the cool geometric shapes and shiny surfaces. Yeah, this whole palace is decked out in that style. It's like the Great Gatsby threw a party in India and never left. Now you might be wondering, who built this crazy place? Well, it wasn't some tech billionaire or movie star. This palace has been around since way back in 1943. It was built for Maharaja Umaid Singh, and get this, he didn't just build it to show off. Nope, this guy was actually trying to help people out during a time when jobs were hard to come by. Talk about a boss move. But here's the kicker. This place isn't just for looking at. The current Maharaja, Umaid Singh's grandson, actually lives here. No joke. But running a palace this big ain't cheap, so he made a deal with the Taj Hotel Group. Now, part of the palace is a super fancy hotel where you can stay if you've got the cash. And let me tell you, if you do manage to snag a room here, you're in for a treat. We're talking original Art Deco furniture, murals that'll make your eyes pop, and carvings on the walls and ceilings that'll have you staring for hours. It's like sleeping in a work of art. Quirinal Palace. Welcome to the Quirinal Palace, the official residence of the Italian president. And let me tell you, this place is no joke. We're talking 1.2 million square feet of pure Italian luxury. That's like taking 20 football fields and stacking them on top of each other. You could probably fit every pizzeria in Rome inside this place and still have room for a gelato shop. But here's the thing. This palace ain't some newfangled mansion built by some tech billionaire. Nope, this bad boy has been around since the 16th century. That's right, while your ancestors were still figuring out how to use a fork, Italian bigwigs were already living it up in this mega mansion. Now you might be thinking, okay, it's old and big, but what's so special about it? Well, let me tell you, this place has seen more drama than your favorite reality TV show. Kings, popes, presidents, they've all called this place home at some point. It's like the ultimate celebrity house, but instead of movie stars, it's been home to the people who actually run the country. And get this, the inside of this place is so fancy it'll make your head spin. We're talking frescoes on the ceilings, tapestries on the walls, and furniture that probably costs more than your car. It's like someone took all the fanciest stuff from all the museums in Italy and decided to make a house out of it. But here's the kicker. This place isn't just for show. Nope, it's where the real business of running Italy goes down. The president doesn't just sleep here, he works here too. It's like the ultimate home office, but instead of a cubicle, you've got a throne room. And if you're thinking, man, I wish I could see inside this place, well, you're in luck. Because unlike some other presidential palaces, I'm looking at you, White House, parts of the Quirinal are actually open to the public. That's right, you can actually go inside and see where the president hangs out. It's like getting a backstage pass to the most exclusive club in Italy. Apostolic Palace. What a name for a mansion that deserves it. Welcome to the Apostolic Palace, the Pope's heavenly pad in Vatican City. Now you might be thinking, how big can the Pope's house really be? Let me put it this way, if you started walking around this place, you'd need to pack a lunch, dinner, and maybe even breakfast for the next day. We're talking about a whopping 1,743,753 square feet of holy real estate. That's not just big, that's, I can see it from space big. But it's not just about size, right? This place has got some serious star power. Ever heard of the Sistine Chapel? Yeah, that's right here. Michelangelo's masterpiece is like the Pope's personal ceiling art. Imagine waking up every morning and seeing that above your head. Talk about starting your day with some inspiration. Now you might be wondering, what does the Pope do with all that space? Well, this ain't just a fancy house. The Apostolic Palace is like the world's holiest office building. It's got the Pope's private pad, sure, but it's also home to a bunch of important church offices. It's like if your boss decided to move the whole company into his mansion. And get this, the place has been around since the late 1400s. That's right, while Columbus was still trying to figure out which way was west, the popes were already living it up in this mega mansion. Talk about old money. But here's the coolest part, you can actually visit this place. No joke. They've opened up parts of the palace to us regular folks so you can walk the same halls as the Pope, check out some seriously old art, and maybe even catch a glimpse of His Holiness himself if you're lucky. Istana Nurul Imam. How big can this place really be? Let me put it this way, if you started exploring this palace, you'd probably need to pack a week's worth of snacks and maybe hire a tour guide. We're talking about a mind-boggling 2,152,782 square feet of pure luxury. That's not just big, that's, I can't even wrap my head around it big. But size ain't nothing without some serious swag, right? Well, Istana Nurul Iman's got that covered too. This place has got more bedrooms than some small towns have, people. No, really, it's got 1,788 bedrooms. You could invite your entire high school, their families and their pets for a sleepover and still have room left over. Now you're probably thinking, okay, it's big and it's got a lot of bedrooms, but what else has it got? Well, let me tell you, this place is like a 5-star resort on steroids. You want swimming pools? How about 5 of them? Yeah, you heard that right. 5 pools, because why have just one when you can have a different pool for every workday? But here's where things get really interesting. This ain't just some fancy house where the Sultan kicks back and relaxes. Nope, Istana Nurul Iman is pulling double duty. It's not only the Sultan's crib, but it's also where all the important government stuff goes down. It's like if the White House and Buckingham Palace had a baby, and that baby grew up to be a giant golden palace. Speaking of golden, you won't believe what this place looks like. The name Istana Nurul Iman actually means Palace of the Light of Faith. And let me tell you, this place shines brighter than a diamond in the sun. We're talking gold domes, marble floors and chandeliers that probably cost more than your entire life savings. And if you think that's crazy, wait till you hear about the garage. This place has got an air-conditioned stable that can hold up to 200 horses. Yeah, you heard that right. 200 horses in air conditioning, because apparently in Brunei even the horses live better than most of us. Now you might be wondering, who designed this insane place? Well, it wasn't some modern-day architect with a wild imagination. This palace was actually designed by a Filipino architect named Leandro Locsin back in the early 1980s. That's right, while most of us were rocking out to Madonna and playing Pac-Man, the Sultan of Brunei was planning the biggest house party in history. Aksarayh. This palace covers a mind-blowing 3.1 million square feet. That's like taking 50 football fields and saying, you know what, let's turn this into one giant house. It's so huge you could probably see it from space if it wasn't for all the other buildings around it. Now you might be thinking, okay, it's big, but what's inside? Well, hold on to your hats, because this place has got more than 1,000 rooms. No, that's not a typo, more than 1,000 rooms. You could spend years exploring this place and still find new corners to discover. It's like a never-ending game of hide and seek, but with fancy furniture and probably a lot of security guards. But here's where things get really interesting. This ain't just some old palace that's been around for centuries. No, Aq-Saray is brand spanking new. And get this, it cost a cool $615 million to build. That's right, $615 million. You could buy a small country for that kind of cash, but Turkey decided to build a house instead. Now you're probably wondering, who needs a house that big? Well, that's exactly what a lot of people in Turkey are asking. You see, this place isn't just big, it's controversial. While the president's chilling in his 1,000-room mansion, a lot of regular folks in Turkey are struggling to make ends meet. It's like building a golden spaceship in the middle of a regular neighborhood. Kind of hard to ignore, you know? And it's not just the size that's got people talking. The whole look of the place is causing a stir. They call it the White Palace, but it's not exactly blending in with the neighborhood. Imagine the fanciest wedding cake you've ever seen, but make it the size of a small town. That's Aq-Saray for you. But here's the kicker. This place isn't just for living. It's where all the important government stuff goes down too. It's like if the White House decided it wasn't big enough and took over all of Washington, D.C. The president doesn't just sleep here, he runs the whole country from this mega mansion, Lakshmi Vilas Palace. Remember how I said we'd see a place with its own cricket stadium? Well, here it is. But that's not even the craziest part. This palace is so big, it could fit 4 Buckingham Palaces inside it and still have room for a Walmart. No, really, we're talking about 30,492,000 square feet of pure luxury. That's not a typo, folks. This place is so massive, you'd need a map just to find your way to the bathroom. But size ain't nothing without some serious perks, right? Well, Lakshmi Vilas Palace has got that covered too. You want a golf course? They've got one, right there in the backyard. Feeling sporty? How about a game of tennis or badminton? They've got indoor courts for both. It's like someone took all the fancy country clubs in the world and decided to smoosh them into one giant house. Now you might be thinking, okay, it's big and it's got a lot of stuff, but what's it look like inside? Well, picture this, beautiful mosaics everywhere you look, art pieces that probably cost more than your entire house, and decorations that'll make your eyes pop. It's like stepping into a real-life fairy tale, but with better furniture. But here's the kicker. This place isn't just some fancy museum. Nope, people actually live here. The royal family of Vadodara calls this mega mansion home. Can you imagine growing up in a place where you need a golf cart just to get to dinner? That's living large, my friends. And get this, the place has been around since way back in the day. We're talking late 1800s here. While your great-great-grandparents were probably living in a tiny house with no electricity, some Indian royals were already living it up in this palace that's bigger than some small towns.